Alright, let's get started on learning how to draw the clouds. I want to explain to you what I have already done to prepare for this lesson here. What I have done here, it's going to be very light lines that I have drawn here. I have taken my ruler and I have actually drawn a plane across the paper right here. It's a very light line. Anytime you're drawing a plane and you're drawing out your drawings that you're going to actually draw and blend in and shade in, you really want to do a real light drawing of them so it's not real dark. So I have my plane here to separate my land from my sky. We're not going to do anything with the land, we're just going to focus on the sky and the clouds on this lesson here. And what I've also done is I've went ahead and sketched out my shapes of my clouds here. They're real light, you can see just a little bit, and that's all you're really looking for, is just to lightly sketch them out. So the concept here is what we're actually going to do is we're going to actually take and we're going to shade the sky around the clouds I've drawn here, because when you draw the clouds you're going to want to use a lot of the white space inside the cloud and put your little graphite shades in there later on. And that's really what's going to define the cloud and make it look realistic. So what I'm going to use here is a 4B pencil, and I'm going to shade the sky. You always want your sky to be darker than the clouds, of course, because the clouds are always light and fluffy, and this way you can actually see that the clouds are floating in the sky. So you can make your sky, fairly dark, and that's the object of it, is to make it dark. So I'm going to go ahead and take my 4B pencil here, and I'm going to begin to just shade, and I'm going to go in one direction here, and while I'm actually shading this, I'm going to probably cover up some of my lines that is on my clouds, which is okay, and really that's what you want to do anyway, just a little bit, because it's going to kind of help it blend it all together. You may think, well, what is the purpose of drawing the outlines of the clouds if you're going to cover them up while shading the sky? Well, it gives you the inside of the cloud, basically. It just gives you kind of a guide to go by. That way you don't shade inside the cloud area there. If you get in there just a little bit while you're touching the line on the outside of the cloud, that's fine. Because you always can, we're going to be using the eraser anyway to go in and kind of modify things just a little bit. I'm going to do a fairly decent shading on this sky here. Really this is two lessons combined into one, because before you can actually draw your clouds, you actually have to have your sky. You have to actually do the sky and have it shaded in and everything. So that's really important. It's always important to draw out the outline, and there's different ways you can create the clouds. But I always find it easier if you go ahead and just draw the outlines of your clouds first and the shapes that you want them to be in. Then you can always come back and then shade your sky. You can just do the sky however you need to do the sky. It's just really better to do it that way. You could actually take and just shade the whole area that you're going to use for your sky, and not even draw the outlines of the clouds if you wanted to, and then later on you can come back in. Once you got your sky shaded in, you can actually just take the eraser and just start forming your clouds. But I really like doing it this way, like drawing the shapes of my clouds first. This way you can actually see what you're going to be doing. As we get this sky shaded in here, you'll be able to see a rough draft basically of the clouds here. We're going to also need to blend the sky once we get it shaded in real good. And this gives you just a good starting point here. That's why it really doesn't matter if you shade some of your lines on your clouds. Number one, you're going to want to do that because it's going to help you blend a little bit better once you start putting the graphite inside the clouds. But you just want to get your sky as dark as you can get it. I mean, you don't want to get it real dark. I mean, it wouldn't matter if you got it pretty dark, because sometimes I even do the sky in charcoal. I use a charcoal stick a lot of times, and I'll get a lot of the shavings off of the charcoal stick. And this right here should be pretty good right here to actually give us a good shade here. So what you want to do here next, you can see right here I got a little bit of a sky that I'm going to be showing through right here, and then you can see the clouds. You're basically using the white space of the clouds here, and you're going to use that to kind of form your clouds. So what we're going to do here now is we're going to take the blending stump, and you really want to take the blending stump and kind of just hold it sideways a little bit, not right on the point like straight up, but you just want to kind of hold it sideways and go in a circular motion. This circular motion will actually help the graphite to blend a lot smoother. I'm actually going to take the graphite that I had laid down in my sky here as I'm going around blending it. I'm actually going to blend just a little bit on the lines of my clouds. That way it can all get blended real good. Because the smoother your graphite is, the more defined that your clouds are going to be, and the more realistic they're going to be as well. Now you could really spend hours just shading and blending in the sky. But for this purpose and for this lesson, I want to show you how to draw the clouds and actually how to lay out your sky. I'm not going to get that detailed into the blending, but I am going to blend it enough to help define the clouds and to make the sky look presentable. Now we're going to wind up doing two parts to this lesson here, because I don't like making my videos that long. I always like being able to keep my students' attention, and I don't want to create a long drawn out video in one setting here, because if we do 10 or 15 minutes each time, that's good enough, and that way you're not trying to take in a lot of information, you know, all at one time here. And that's a pretty good shade right here, pretty good blend on my clouds. As you can see, it's starting to shape up just a little bit, starting to look a little bit defined, starting to look a little bit like clouds. See how the edge of my blending stump is, where I was actually blending with. You never do want to just go straight up with the blending stump with the tip. This is shaped like a pencil. All this is compressed paper, and the edges of it shaped like a kind of like a pencil. Reminds you of a pencil a little bit. So you just want to kind of turn it sideways with the tip where it's actually laying on your paper, and then just go in a circular motion like this. And that's how you want to use your blending stump. That's why they come in different sizes. You can get smaller blending stumps. That way if you need smaller areas, you can use them for smaller areas as well. Well, that's going to cut it for the first part of this video here. This is going to be all we're going to do. We just basically laid down the outlines of our clouds and our plane. We've separated our plane where the land is basically from the sky. And then we had taken a 4B pencil and blended it into the sky, shaded it and blended it. So the next video is going to be the last part of this module, how to draw clouds. And we're going to finish this up, and we're going to show you how to get into the defining these clouds and making them look realistic and really just start floating around like they're floating around in the sky here, like they should be. So stay tuned for the next module.